Good evening and welcome to our live chat this evening with author Richard Clarke. Richard, good evening to you. Nice to see you here with us this evening.
Good evening, Simon. It's great to see you.
Fantastic. Thanks ever so much for joining us this evening. It's really appreciated. Great to see you this evening. I hope you're well.
I'm as well as can be expected, I think. Yeah. And you?
Yeah, I'm fine as well. Obviously, we're living in strange times at the minute. But yeah, it's great to see you here. Good to hear you well. And like I said, it's I really appreciate you coming on tonight and talking. And we're going to have a chat this evening about obviously the island of Crete, which is what this is all about, really. This Facebook page and what have you, but also about your new novel, Return to Turtle Beach, which has recently been released, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Fantastic. So let's crack on with the chat then. So the first question, obviously, is what first took you to Crete, Richard?
Well, it was a bit of an accident, really. I'd like to say it was all planned out, but in fact, it wasn't really. Not long after I graduated, I took a degree in English literature. I thought I fancied doing something that kind of involved what I'd been studying, which was I thought was writing. So I thought I'd like to be a journalist, and I'd done some pieces for local newspapers and stuff like that over the years, but it was very difficult to get into. And I did get a job, but it was editing sort of scientific journals, which wasn't kind of for somebody who studied English exactly what I wanted to be doing. And I saw a job advertised in The Guardian as a teacher in Heraklion, and I thought, oh, that sounds nice, So I wrote off, and surprisingly enough, I got it. And in those days, because I had a degree in English, I was allowed to go and teach English in Greek schools. And so, as I say, it was surprising, but I got the job. And so I left England and didn't know how to speak the language, never taught before, didn't have anywhere to live, to a strange country that I knew nothing about. And really, as soon as I stepped off the ferry in Heraklion, I knew I'd come somewhere which I was going to really like, and somewhere very special. So the answer to your question is what first took me there was a bit of good luck, really.
Well, I just think it's supplementary to throw a curveball in there for you, Richard. What did you teach in Heraklion when you got the job? What was your subject?
I was teaching English language to Greek students from little kids, I suppose, 5-6-year-olds, right through to 18-19-year-olds.
Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I really, really loved it. It was it was a great time. I worked in a great school. I had a great boss. People were very friendly, and considering I hadn't done it before, I think I was okay at it, really. They did very well. So hopefully I did a good job as well.
Fantastic. And for everyone watching this evening, thanks for joining us. And if you do want to ask Richard a question, then by all means, pop something in the comments, and we'll try and get a chance to ask those questions to Richard at some point while we're talking this evening. So obviously you went, from what you're telling us, you went to Crete to take a job teaching. What was it that you found special about Crete once you got there? Is it somewhere you've been before, or what was it that then became special about Crete to you?
Well, I think the obvious things, it's very beautiful for the most part. It's spectacular, the landscape, the coast, mountains. I like the food. I mean, I think the food's very good now. I mean, it's probably not quite as adventurous then as it is now. And I like the music as well, the traditional music. But I think for me, the really important thing, the thing I really love about Crete is the people. I think they're warm, generous, friendly, and I think that's quite unique in my experience. And that hasn't changed as time's gone on. The people remain really, really friendly. And I think that if anyone asks me, I think that's the thing: their generosity, hospitality, friendship, kindness. I really like the people. Really like the people.
Fantastic. I totally agree with you. You know, the people of Crete are always welcoming and warm, no matter what. You know, and sometimes you can be in a situation. I mean, certainly for me, I don't know about you, but there's been times when I've been in situations where I thought, oh, is it? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Is it right for me to speak to these people? But I've never ever come across anybody that's been anything but welcoming and helpful towards me in my experience there. So I could completely agree with you. It's they're a unique breed, I think, Cretans, and it's one of those things that makes the country stand,
Exactly.
or the island stand out from other places. I think undoubtedly.
They're lovely. Yeah. Couldn't
So
agree more.
fantastic. So you, I'm obviously you're teaching in Heraklion, and then you decided to make your tenure or your stay in Crete more permanent after that, Richard.
Well, I returned to the UK after a year in Heraklion. I returned to get married, actually, and funnily enough, as soon as I came back to England, I got that elusive good job in journalism that I hadn't been able to get prior to coming out. But I always sort of felt Greece pulling me back, and since I moved back to the UK, I was always traveling back to Crete or other Greek islands, but predominantly Crete. And when we had children and could afford to sort of get the flights, it was Crete that I came back to. And since then, I think we've been returning sort of 2 or 3 times a year ever since, or at least to Greece, but very often to Crete. And then when I left my job in London 3 years ago to write books permanently, we decided we'd try and buy a house in Crete, which we've now done, and we go out there quite a lot. I mean, unfortunately, at the moment, for obvious reasons, we're unable to go, and which is fair enough. But no, we just feel like it's very much our second home, and we've got friends there, and love the people and the lifestyle. So yeah, we have got a much more permanent connection now than we used to have.
It's just fantastic. You know, when you've got that base there, and you've got somewhere there to go and enjoy the island, and enjoy the people and the culture and the food. It's something special, I guess, and it's great to have that connection. So just looking at some comments that are coming in this evening. Babs, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for saying hello. Angela, hello to you. You're down there in Devon, down in the southwest. So thanks for joining us as well. Thanks ever so much for coming in. Elaine's saying the people of Crete are fantastic, so friendly and kind. I think, as Richard's been saying, he completely agree with that, and so would I. So yeah, thanks for joining. Get your comments in. Feel free to say hi. Ask a question if you want to ask a question for Richard. This evening, by all means, do so. So let's move on then to you writing novels. Then, Richard, how did you come to write novels more recently?
Well, I started off really writing nonfiction, really because I knew I wanted to write. I mean, my father was an author, and being a journalist, I sort of felt the easiest thing to do was probably to write nonfiction, because it was something that I had day-to-day experience in, and I was also kind of used to writing shorter pieces of work. So when I decided I was actually going to take on writing a book, I thought it was best to do non-fiction because I knew it, and also to do something which was a compilation of shorter pieces of work which I could fit in around my job. I could do writing on the train on my commute into London, or in my lunch hour, or wherever I was. And you know, when you take up that challenge of doing the first book, you're sort of thinking, can I actually just achieve writing it? You know, have something to write for the length of time which makes you make up a book. So I decided to write about Greece because it was something I knew a bit about, and to be honest, I've got a mild obsession with. I think, like so many people who love it, and so that was what I did. I decided to write a book about the Greek islands in general. I did it that broad because, again, I thought, will I have enough to write? You know, am I able to actually write enough of interest about a narrower subject? So I decided to generalize about the Greek islands, which was mostly, I suppose, Crete, Rhodes, Corfu, the Ionian, and Simi, Santorini, places like that, places I've been. And actually, when I did it, I found the opposite was true, that I had too much to write about. And by the time I completed it, I thought, oh, I can actually do this again. So that's when I wrote my first book about Crete, which was Crete, a Notebook. And that was really the first book that started to make an impact and had good sales. And it kind of started to snowball a little bit. And so far I've done 6 of the notebooks, of which 4 of them are about Crete. And the original Crete notebook is also available in paperback in translation into Greek, which is great. And there's a couple of compilations as well. One of them, the 3 books I've done about the first 3 Greek island notebooks, and the other one, 3 of the Cretan books are in a compilation. But it was only after I gave up traveling into London and my career as a journalist. I mean, I still do little bits for magazines if I'm asked, but my sort of day-to-day full-time job as a journalist, that I decided that I'd try and tackle a novel, because I think deep down that was what I really wanted to do. And I gained confidence enough by having published all those books beforehand. So I thought I'd give it a go because I had the time and the space to do it. And I suppose Crete, as I knew it quite well and was so fond of it, seemed to be a natural setting for the books. And so the first book, The Lost Lira, is kind of set in the present day and the Second World War. And I sort of drew on experience of my knowledge of Crete. And although my father fought in the Second World War, and although not in Crete, he was in the Desert Rats in North Africa, and also D-Day, which features in the book. And also I was lucky enough when I lived in Heraklion to meet socially with as well the great lyra player Ross Daly. For anyone who knows him, he's one of the greatest lyra players in Crete at the moment, although he's not Cretan. And so he introduced me to sort of lyra music. I went to a few concerts and some informal things where I was sort of sitting around in tavernas in various places and people playing music, and they really helped colour the the story that I created, really. So my first book, I really enjoyed writing it, and but after that, I kind of had planned to go back to a non-fiction book, but it did really, really well, and I'd enjoyed writing it so much that I thought, why not do another novel? And I had an idea for it already, which eventually turned into the book that's just come out, just Return to Turtle Beach. So that was really why I did another novel, and sort of decided to put, I'm not saying I won't ever write non-fiction again, I fully intend to, but at the moment I'm enjoying writing novels, and whilst I still have an idea for them, that's what I'm going to do. So yeah. Yeah, so it's novels at the moment.
Fantastic. And I guess for you, it's great to kind of marry up your passion for writing with Crete as well. It's like a perfect combination for you, I'm guessing.
Yes, it is really. You know, it's as I write about sort of Crete every day for my non-fiction stuff, it kind of takes up a huge amount of my headspace, really. Probably too much, some people might say, but it seemed only natural to continue writing about a place I love so much, you know. So for me, that's simple. And I suppose I was going to say, once people kept buying them, I'll keep writing them, but it's not actually that. It's that people keep reading them and enjoying them. That's the thing that drives me now. It's not a financial thing for me anymore. You know, I'm not saying it's not nice to have some money, but you know, I just, the big thing for me is that people enjoy the books very much so.
And I'm sure they do, Richard. I mean, I was just talking briefly before we came live, and I'm just a couple of chapters into Return to Turtle Beach, your new novel, and it's great. I'm already hooked and thoroughly enjoying it. So I think for me, and I've heard this said about your writing before. I didn't really understand it until I took the time to start reading your work. But you capture the flavour and the atmosphere of Crete very, very, very well in your writing, and I've never quite seen that before in any books I've read about Crete before. So it's great. It's almost like you sort of transport us there via your words for a little while, which is great at the minute because obviously we can't go. So it's
yeah, that's really kind. Well, if I've done that at the very least, I think I've succeeded on some level, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm really enjoying the new book at the minute. So yeah, great stuff. Let's just have a look and see what's coming on the comments while we've been chatting there. Willie says he misses Crete like us all. Neither myself or Richard currently lucky enough to be in Crete at the minute, but much as we both, I think, were planning to or had planned to at some point over the recent past, but not possible at the minute, unfortunately. So there we go. Angela's asking, do you prefer fiction or non-fiction writing, Richard?
They're very different, really. I like them both, I suppose, if I'm sitting on the fence. But I think if I had to plumb for one, it would probably be fiction, because there's more freedom involved in that. You've got the freedom of using your own imagination. If you're writing non-fiction, you're bound by the constraints of facts and objectivity, and you're not creating a story. So with fiction, I'm able to sort of like go anywhere my mind wants to go. I mean, obviously it has to be believable, but it is a product of my imagination. So I think the answer is I like both. I like writing both. Non-fiction was always easier for me because I've had sort of 35, 40 years of experience doing it on a daily basis as a journalist, but I actually get more pleasure, I think, out of writing fiction. I think that's probably where I am at the moment.
Great, and like I said, we're certainly getting pleasure out of writing your work, reading your work. So it's certainly some great stuff going on there, Richard. Luan is with us, or Luan. I apologise if I've said your name wrong. They're asking, how long have you lived in Crete, Richard?
We've had our house for only for 3 years now. So basically, since I stopped working in London, which was 3.5 years ago, and we managed to buy our house very shortly after then. So we've had it for just over 3 years. And I tend to work in the UK, home in the UK, and not work so much, funnily enough, when I'm in Crete. I fill up a lot of notebooks, but I don't take a computer with me because I know what I'd be like. I'd sit working if I did, and it's a break for me and my wife to go there, and family sometimes as well.
Great, and it's great opportunity to recharge the batteries down in Crete for a little while, and have a break from the work and the keyboard, I'm guessing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Although I like working, probably too much. That's why I need the break.
So, should we talk about your new book now? Have a little quick chat about that. Tell us about the book that came out recently, Return to Turtle Beach, and tell us just give us some idea of where, without giving the story away. I'm sure that wouldn't be a great idea, but let's have a quick chat about that, because I know that's recently out.
Okay, well, I suppose, as you said, I don't really want to give too much of the story away, but it's set in Eastern Crete, whereas the previous book, Lost Lyra, was more in Western Crete. This is set around Alunda and the area I know, and it's about Crete in the present day and the legacy that's been left from the financial crisis of the late noughties and earlier this decade, and how it destroyed lives. But also, apart from that, that legacy, that terrible economic legacy, it's also about the lasting ability of human beings, and particularly Cretans, to fight their way through the toughest of times and hopefully come out triumphant. It is a story of love, loss, and legacy, really. And the themes running through it are, I suppose, the motif is sea turtles in a way, and the destruction of boat building and fishing by economic crisis, regulation, effects of tourism, and things like that. But they're kind of the motifs behind the broader story, which is essentially a love story.
Fantastic, yeah. And as I say, I'm a couple of chapters in, and I'm already hooked. It's a great story, and quite an emotional story, Richard. I think I'm already feeling the emotion of the book already a little bit. So it's quite a passionate and emotional and emotive story. I think you've captured some sort of human emotion there that's quite strong, I think.
I hope so, yeah.
So obviously a long and successful career in writing, both in non-fiction and now more recently in fiction. Do you have any tips for budding writers that are looking to get going with either writing a book or looking to write non-fiction work, maybe travel work? Have you got any tips for people looking to get into that industry?
Yes, I have. Well, people often ask me, but I think everybody's different. But if you want to be a writer, I think the first tip, I know it sounds stupid, is write. Actually do it, and do it regularly. Because the more you do it, the better you'll get. you know, it's the same. It's the same as everything. And I mean, I think you have to be disciplined to do it. I write every single day, apart from, as I said, when I'm on holiday, which is kind of why I make that distinction, because it is a job. It's a job that I love, but also write about something you know, write about something you love, and also don't be too worried about what you're writing. Don't keep going back and editing it as you go. Don't keep rewriting stuff. You can go back and edit it when you finish. Just get stuff down. I think some days you'll find you can't write that much, but do a bit. Other days you'll find you can write for ages, and that's good too. Just try and keep writing. And I think about, if you're thinking about getting published or publishing or whatever, is you've got to be able to take criticism. You know, I think you've got to ask people what they think, and they haven't got to be your friends who are just going to be nice about it. I think in some ways, they've got to be people who you know are going to be quite critical, and you've got to accept and take criticism, not think, oh, they're wrong, or, you know, you've got to listen to people and learn from it, because I think criticism's the only way you get better. And I think if you're self-publishing, I think what is really, really important is that you have a really good editor, because I don't think you can edit your own work. I mean, I was a magazine editor, and I wouldn't even consider editing my own work. It needs a new pair of eyes on it at the very least. And again, accept what they do and accept their criticism. Get somebody really good, and it makes it professional, and that's very, very important. So I suppose they're my tips. Write every day, be disciplined, and last of all, enjoy it. I think that's important. I think if you don't enjoy it, it's not going to be good. So have fun doing it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. With writing, I think if you've not got a passion for it, it's not something you enjoy doing, I think you'll never stay the course of it. It's something that needs, like you say, self-discipline and yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great advice. Really appreciate it. So what's your this flipping subject? What's your, obviously you've been going to Crete for a long time. What's your most golden memory of being on the island of Crete? Have you got one specific memory that stands out as being something special from your time on the island?
Yes, but it's not really about Crete, funnily enough. I proposed to my wife when I was on Crete, so that's a special memory if you're asking for special memories. But it's not specifically about Crete, but it's something I remember fondly.
Fantastic. So let's just have a quick look at the comments and see what's coming in. Luan's asking which of your books she should read first. Richard, have you got any advice on which of your books she should look to read first?
They're all standalone, really. So there's nothing that relies on one of the others to read it. I mean, if you're a fan of Crete and you want non-fiction, I suppose I'd recommend Crete, a Notebook, which actually, if you're quick until tomorrow, if you've got a Kindle device, the Kindle are offering my Greek Island anthology, which is 3 books. It's Crete, a Notebook, Rhodes, a Notebook, and Corfu and the Ionian, a Notebook. And it's free for Kindle readers. So if you're quick, before tomorrow, you can download it for free, and it's included in that package. But anyway, I think if you're a fan of Crete like I am, that was the first book I wrote about Crete. If you want non-fiction, if it's fiction, take your pick. It really doesn't matter, either the Lost Lyra or Return to Turtle Beach. They're the only two at the moment. I'm working on a new one.
Fantastic. Is there, just thinking about the viewers, and of course, if you're there tonight, then obviously come say hi, feel free to comment, say hello, ask any questions of Richard if you'd like to, ask him a question about his writing or Crete, then pop that on, and we'll try and ask that of him while he's here with us. I'm guessing, I'm hoping that we're all going to get to Crete fairly soon, at some point in the future. Who knows how long that'll be, Richard, before we get a chance to go. But I'm anticipating that quite a few people that are watching this evening will be either been to Crete or looking to go to Crete at some point in the future. Is there anywhere you particularly recommend that people don't miss out on when they visit the island? Is there anywhere that you would be your go-to place as a tip for people not to miss?
Well, I would say it would be easier to say the places I wouldn't recommend, which I'm not going to, because so much of the island is so wonderful and so beautiful that it would be hard for you not to find somewhere that you love and enjoy. I mean, personally, I love all of the island, but I particularly love the area around Alunda. But I'm a bit biased there, you know. So I mean, and if you go to Alunda, the place I suppose you'd have to visit is Spinalonga, the leper island that was featured in Victoria Hislop's book The Island. It's quite a haunting place, and really a visit there is quite powerful. And I think, although it gets pretty busy in the summer, if you're fit, I still think walking the Samaria Gorge is a wonderful experience. I don't know, have you done it, Simon?
No, I've talked about it, I've planned it before, and for one reason or another, I've never got down there. So it's something on my bucket list. But it sounds like you have, Richard. Have you walked it yourself?
Yes, yeah. I've done it both the long way when I was a lot younger, and I've done the lazy way as well, which is you go to the bottom and you walk up the gorge for a little bit to the iron gates, and then you can walk down again. So it's cheating a bit, but it's still worth it because it is quite a tough climb, really, mostly because of the heat, and it takes quite a few hours to do it. It's not terrible terrain, but I think a lot of people underestimate it. I think you have to be reasonably fit to do it. So you can do it the lazy way. So I would say if you're fit, yeah, do the Samaria Gorge, and there are the obvious places. Knossos, of course, which I've been so many times, and it is fascinating. Very, very crowded. If you don't like crowds, go very early or go sort of slightly out of season. But nowadays it's busy most of the time anyway. And in some ways, the archaeological museum in Heraklion is more fascinating because some of the artifacts in there are absolutely just unbelievable. So those are musts if you like history. But the thing that really appeals to me about it is sort of just getting out there and exploring, you know, having these experiences, just taking life as it comes and what you find, stopping off in villages, stopping off in little tavernas, cafe neons, and experiencing the joy of the island. I'm still constantly discovering new places that I didn't know existed before. So serendipity, I think, is the answer. And the good thing about Crete is it's big, it's got very varied landscapes. I think there's something for everyone. I would find it difficult to imagine anyone who couldn't find anything that they loved on that island. But there you go.
Absolutely, yeah, great answer. Thanks for your tips. I'm sure people appreciate that insight. Like I say, I've never been to Samaria Gorge, and it's something that I'd love to do. And yeah, it's definitely on my list too. And it looks incredible scenery. The scenery there looks amazing. So return to Turtle Beach then, Richard. Where can we pick that up currently? Where can we go and find a copy of that at the minute?
Well, all my books are available on Amazon worldwide, both in paperback format and for Kindle. So you can buy it on from whatever Amazon bookshop you would usually shop from. So if you're in America, or buy from Amazon.com in the UK, from Amazon.co.uk, Australia, Canada, India, wherever, you can get them there, either to download, as I say, for Kindle, or in paperback version. The only book that isn't available in a Kindle version is the Greek language translation of Crete Notebook, because Kindle doesn't support Greek language.
Right. Yeah. Well, fantastic. I'm sure having listened to us today, a lot of our viewers today will be looking eagerly to have a look at your publications, Richard. It's certainly, hopefully, whetted people's appetite for that this evening. I think you answered this question sort of during the chat, but I'm guessing you do have plans for another book in the works, Richard.
I do. I'm writing a book, another novel, and it's got a working title which is called The Forgotten Song, and it's again based on Crete, but I don't really want to say too much more about it at the moment, if that's okay.
No, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But I think all fans of your writing will be delighted to hear that you've got another book in the works, and that at some point in the future we'll be able to enjoy one of your books again. Richard,
hopefully early next year.
Fantastic. Richard, thank you ever so much for joining us this evening and giving us your time. I certainly appreciate it. So thank you personally from me for joining me on the page tonight, and thanks for all the members of the page tonight for joining us and giving us your insight on Crete. It's really appreciated.
It's been a real pleasure, and I hope everyone's enjoyed it. And best of luck with everything, and hope we can all get back to Crete soon.
Absolutely. I totally concur with that, Richard. I think we're all itching to get back. Obviously, once it's safe to do so, and we can. Yeah, and So tonight's obviously broadcast has been on Facebook. It'll also be available to watch again later on. If you missed the start of it, you can watch it again via Facebook, and it'll also be on YouTube. And it'll also be on photosofcrete.com website from tomorrow for you to catch there if you want to catch it again. Richard, thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it. I think it's been a great chat. I've really enjoyed it, and great to hear your thoughts and hear about your writing. It's been a really interesting chat with you there this evening, so I really appreciate it. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks for your comments and your questions, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.